This week's episode brought to you by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson himself. When we reached out to Dwayne to see if he would like to advertise with Horror Movie Talk, he was quoted as saying, "Get the fuck away from me. I don't even do horror movies." Well, how easily we forget our humble beginnings as the Scorpion King. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, can you smell what The Rock is cooking? Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk! An opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Bryce Hansen, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day, the foremost expert in scare no-nos. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. I'm mealy-mouthed David Day.
I'm Bryce Hansen.
And thank you guys so much for stopping by and giving a listen to Horror Movie Talk. We sure do appreciate it. If you'd like to check out our website, that would help us out a little bit. Go on over there to www.horrormovietalk.com. And from there, you can find links to all of our social media and, you know, all the write-ups that we do for this show. So, yeah. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff over there. It's just crazy fun crap. Just a bunch of fun crap. We post new episodes of the podcast every single Wednesday, so make sure to subscribe and leave a rating on iTunes. Also, you can check out my personal podcast, The Positivicast, every single weekday. It's just a short little podcast that'll give you, it's kind of like a shot of caffeine, only instead of caffeine, it's positivity mixed with some incredibly black humor. And today I'm super excited because I think this may be one of the biggest shows that we do all year, Bryce. What do you think?
Yeah, this should be a pretty popular one. It Chapter 2.
It Chapter 2.
A huge movie.
It's coming at you. It's back. All kinds of It references. Today, as we talk about It Chapter 2, we'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We do score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 5 being totally average, and 10 being so good that it transcends genre boundaries and should probably win an Oscar, but it won't because it's a horror movie. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. And later we will be doing one of my favorite games that I think we've ever played, the second rendition of Horror or Porno.
Yeah, this is the one where we earn our explicit rating.
Much debate, debacle, and there's been a few, it's ruffled a few feathers in my house anyway.
If you want to hear Carrie's opinion of horror porno, check out our review of It 2017, where she makes a guest appearance. Yeah,
she comes on towards the end of the show and just berates me for making horror porno, which is, I don't know. I think it's funny.
She thinks it's not fair for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's not.
She's just not. I mean, really, what it comes down to is she's really not good at playing the game.
Yeah, if all your facilities are intact, it's fair.
Yeah.
So as I said, we saw It Chapter 2, and I have to say, I can make plenty of criticisms about this movie, but on the whole, it's a well-done ending to a high-budget franchise that has really delivered in the scares department. So let's listen to the trailer.
Something happens to you when you leave this town. The farther away, the hazier it all gets. But me, I never left. I remember all of it.
To the losers.
We made an oath.
Swear? If it isn't dead, If it ever comes back, we'll come back to.
We didn't stop it.
Pennywise.
The clown.
We can't let it happen again.
Hello?
Kid! Kid! Hello. For 27 years, I dreamt of you. I craved you. I missed you.
We need to finish it. For good.
I've seen all of us die. It consumes us from the inside until we don't have a choice anymore.
You lied. And I died. You lied! And I died!
It Chapter 2 can be found in theaters right now on probably every single screen in your theater because it's kind of a big deal. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a big deal. If you would like to be reminded of the first chapter of this series, check out our review from last week where we go over the whole first chapter.
And if you want to be reminded of the mini-series from 1990, become a Patreon so you can get the patron exclusive. I mean, it's not even really a review. It's more we talk a little more in detail about it.
Kind of a rundown and a criticism.
Yeah.
It Chapter 2 picks up 27 years later and after the first iteration. Just off the cuff on that. We can only go up from here. And it details the lives of the kids turned adults from the first movie. As a quick recap, our character list is Bev, the girl in the group, played by Jessica Chastain. Ben, the fat boy / new kid turned CEO hunk, played by Jay Ryan. Bill, the stutterer turned author, played by James McAvoy. Rich, the biting wit who wears glasses turned comedian, played by Bill Hader. Mike, the token black kid who stayed in Derry, played by Isaiah Mustafa. Eddie, the Munchausen by proxy kid turned Munchausen by proxy adult, played by James Ransone. And finally, Stan, the feeble Jewish kid turned feeble Jewish adult, played by Andy Bean.
So, first off, I have to take... I don't think we talked about this, but the most absolute perfect casting...
Best.
...was Eddie.
Yeah.
Both
kid and adult.
Eddie Kaspbrak, because the adult Eddie Kaspbrak looks exactly like the child Eddie Kaspbrak. They cast by eyebrows and got it perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that at the outset of this franchise, they went, okay, let's match up some stars with some kids. Like, we're going to do our homework ahead of time.
Well, there's an interesting story with Bill Hader. Finn? Is it Finn or Flynn? Anyways, the kid from Stranger Things that played Richie Tozier.
Yeah.
In the first one, they asked him who he would want to play, and he said Bill Hader. And then, like, a couple days later, Bill Hader's agent got a call. And Bill Hader was like, is that kid the most powerful kid in Hollywood? So Finn basically cast himself. But man, that Eddie the guy that plays Eddie is like
perfect.
Uncanny how much he looks like that kid.
The whole casting for this is just is incredible.
It took me a minute to figure out where I recognize James Ransone from, and it's from The Wire. He played Ziggy on The Wire.
That's where I was like, where the heck have I seen this guy?
Yeah.
Like I was so sure I had seen him in some. He's just got those eyes that you fall into.
Yeah, and he's almost... I mean, I had to check his IMDb because I was like, I know who that guy is. I can't place him. And, like, everything he's been in, I haven't watched except The Wire, but he is great in The Wire. It's season 2. He plays Ziggy, kind of the fuck-up brother of one of the protagonists of that season.
He's just a dreamboat. What a dream.
He flashes his dick everywhere.
Yeah, the casting in this movie is dead on. Just like the casting in the first movie was great, the casting in this is even better. I mean, Jessica Chastain, James McAvoy, and they all matched up with their kids perfectly, and it was just perfect. So Mike has begun to notice nefarious happenings in Derry, and you might guess it's 27 years since the Losers Club made their pact to fight it if it ever came back. Mike sends the call out to all his long-lost friends, and they respond with dread, but they come home anyway. The Losers Club has a cloud of forgetfulness that has descended upon them in the time since their Derry days, and Mike, the only member to stay in Derry, has to help them recall what happened and how they can beat it.
Yeah, that's part of how it works, is that if you move away from Derry, you start losing your memory, even though they have the most traumatic childhoods in the world. You'd think you'd remember, attacking a scary clown, but apparently you don't. They
do go on. They kind of make... I don't know if you'd call it half-baked attempts, but they're just kind of... I mean, it's kind of throwaway lines at explaining... why it doesn't fucking matter. It's really why they lost their memory. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, it's interesting because in this movie they really try to integrate some of the lore in it, and much more so than they did in the miniseries or even It 2017. And there's a certain amount of just exposition that you have to put in the dialogue to even explain it. And so some of this stuff, it felt very much like the miniseries, but it's delivered so much better by better actors that you're like, all right,
that's a good way. That's a good way to put it. It's expositional and you don't really care, and you don't need to know. Like, it could be cut, but it's handled with enough care that it flows and it fits.
Yeah, it doesn't feel wedged in, and they do enough of like, you don't need to know all of this, but this is like, you need to understand that we understand it,
right?
Kind of stuff, which is pretty effective.
So as the Losers Club sets out on Derry, they're reminded of the reason they left: the clown, the fear, and the life they left behind. Stop doing that. Are you ever going to stop doing that? No. It Chapter 2 is similar enough to the first movie that you can rely on many of the same things that worked. The intense subject matter, the your mom jokes, the camaraderie, they're all there. We even get the kids cast back for a bounty of flashbacks and memories. It also has a hefty bag of very effective scares that are less frequent than the first movie, but much more potent.
Yeah, I think Sorry, on the last point about the younger cast.
Yeah.
I think there's probably only a few of them that they actually had to shoot for this movie. I think they shot a lot of it in the last movie, footage that they'd be able to use.
That would make sense.
Because they knew that they were going to make Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was already like a foregone conclusion. But the kids that were in this movie that like did shoot, so stuff around Bill and Georgie. Georgie, the kid that is cast as Georgie, is just great.
Perfect.
I mean, it's one thing to be like a really cute kid that's innocent, but that kid can be super menacing and frightening when he's like yelling at you. Yeah,
you got to wonder, like, I'd be super interested to see how the director got him to just start screaming, "You lied, I died!" Like he was so angry about it. It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Where It Chapter 2 differs is the length and interesting subject matter. At the 2 hours and 49-minute mark, It Chapter 2 is more than a half hour longer than the first entry. I've never been a fan of long movies, just that's on a personal thing, because at the 2.5 hour mark, I just feel like any reasonable story can fit everything and the kitchen sink in there, and I don't feel like this is an exception. My mind wandered multiple times through the emotion-driven dialogue, and it was a bit boring. I wasn't a big fan of the action-laden ending either, but that being said, this is a solid horror movie that may be one of the most successful franchises ever in horror, and it's not without good reason. The cast, acting, direction, the story, they're all great. There's lots of fun to be had, and the scares are for real. I just wish they kept it a little bit tighter. My score for this is an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I liked it a little more than David, and the length, while I recognized that it was long, and there were several times that I was like, man, I should have got popcorn. So get a big tub of popcorn if you're going to go see it, because like even if you've eaten dinner, you'll get hungry by the end.
Man, I could have worked my way through 2 tubs of popcorn on this thing.
So I view it as it was just a very epic movie. It was an epic story told epically, and it took the proper amount of time to tell it. I could not really, I mean, yes, you could cut it down, but I couldn't identify anything that I could see as real fat on it if you're trying to tell it. It is like a 2,000-page novel or something like that.
Okay, but now we're getting into another. Now this is a whole nother area, which is Stephen King wrote a lot of shit.
Right.
And
a lot of that was cut out.
And his books could have been trimmed down a lot. And it is no exception. It's just
right.
the most successful.
There's definitely stuff that they trimmed down for the sake of filmmaking. I mean, Stephen King went into a lot more of the backstory of each of them in terms of their adulthood life, and they just kind of skimmed over it in the movie. I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's long, but I really liked it. I actually liked it more than the first one.
Yeah, I mean,
I give it a score of 9 out of 10 because I gave the first one an 8.
Yeah.
And so I think we just flipped scores on the
we did.
first one and the second one. I think, I can't underline enough how effective some of the scares were.
Oh.
Like, I'm pretty jaded, and I know there's going to be people that say, like, oh, it wasn't scary or whatever. But I'm pretty jaded, and there was 2 or 3 jump scares that really got me. Like, actually, I was actually scared.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It was definitely time to go on a few of those. Like it was genuinely shocking how. I wonder how they did that. You know, because they were so well. They were so well set up, you just didn't see them coming. You know.
Yeah,
and even the one that you did see coming was just like, like it was just. I
mean, you can see them pretty much all coming, but what they do with them is so unexpected that you can't, just in terms of the production design and the art design of it, where you're like, oh, fuck, Jesus. Ugh. So it's a great movie. It Chapter 2 is a great movie. The other reason why I'd give it a slightly higher score than the first one is that it does a few very key things a lot better than the first one. Number one, they utilize Pennywise better. I think he's a much more interesting villain in this one. In the first one, it was very much like super, super scary clown that runs shakily at the camera. And in this one, there's a lot more menace that he's utilizing their fear of him and their history with him. And I don't know. My main beef is that he wasn't clowny enough in the first one, and in this one he's pretty goofy and menacing. Yeah,
as you may be able to tell, Bryce has a pretty big spot in his heart for
Tim Curry.
For Tim Curry and it in general. Like, this was a formative movie for him, and I'm sure it was a formative movie for a lot of our listeners as well. So, and I can't find fault with anything you're saying other than, yes, I can find a lot of fat on this movie that I could very easily get rid of and have 20 minutes off the top.
Right.
But that being said, a lot of people like my brother, he's like, oh, I want more, like always.
Right,
you
right.
need to bring a movie up to 4 hours to make me happy.
Right.
And it's just because he wants just more exposition. He just wants a little bit more information. It's entertaining to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, it's different for everybody, and there it is. Hey guys, if you'd like to help support the show, you can head on over to Patreon, and I think we still only have one tier, a $5 tier, and that gets you like grandfathered into all the tiers whenever they end up happening. Who knows when that'll be? We were threatening about that in July, and now it's September.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe it'll happen right away. Maybe it'll happen tomorrow.
We keep discussing it. I think we've come up with the different tiers, but we can't agree on the name or what we give for them.
Right. But if you sign up before we make the tiers, then you get grandfathered into all the benefits from all of them. So do that right away. Quick shout out to our latest Patreon member, Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you for signing up to be a patron, and we sure do appreciate you. And yeah, I'll try and get some stickers in the mail to you ASAP.
I don't think we got the one before that either. We need to mention.
Yeah, we did.
I can't remember if we covered Anthony, but Anthony is also one of our newer patrons, and so I wanted to thank him too. I can't believe the generosity that people have given to the podcast of just becoming patrons and showing us the love and showing that you value the content, because we do this every week.
Yeah, we give our weekend to this every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, how much time do you think, when you're responsible for the episode, how much time does it take to prepare, see the movie,
more than
write the blog post, promote it?
More than I would care to admit to. Like, and that's not just that's not like me just trying to, I don't want to admit how much time it takes. It takes a lot of fucking time. It takes my whole weekend, basically.
I mean, it's got to be at least 10 hours, right?
Yeah, no problem.
10 hours of work of, relatively entertaining content that we provide for free. So, I love our patrons.
Yeah,
so.
I love our patrons. I love anyone who goes to our website, horrormovietalk.com, and clicks on the buy shit on Amazon link at the top of the page. It's a green link. You click it, you buy stuff on Amazon. We get a little piece of that. It's enough to make it worth it. So do that. Also, if you would like to write for us, and you enjoy horror movies, and you want to write for the Horror Movie Talk blog, guess what? We're accepting applications, and all you got to do is be like, hey guys, I'm applying. And then we're like, you're hired. and then, yeah, and we will, we'll accept any decent blog or writing from you and see if we can get it out there.
There are some walls that we have to put up. So, as far as horror movie reviews, we're not going to do those on the blog. That's what the episodes are for.
Touché.
But horror movie topics, if you can't think of anything, we've got a list of topics that you can cover. A lot of like listicles.
Yeah.
Top 10 types of horror movies, and then other stuff around, kind of curated content. And even if you want to do a regular thing where you're saying, this is what's on Amazon Prime for horror movies this month.
Yeah.
That'd be valuable to us. Anyways, yeah. If you just got your fingers a twitching to touch that keyboard, right for Horror Movie Talk.
Yeah, we sure would appreciate it. And we've had a couple people reach out to us, and we're excited to see what comes of it. So, thanks again for listening, and let's get into the spoilers section of the show.
Spoilers.
Oh.
Too late.
So this is a spoiler section of the show. If you haven't seen it and you want to see it and you're afraid that it will be spoiled for you in the spoiler section, then go see it, you dummy.
Just go see it.
Because now I'm going to talk about spoilers for It Chapter 2. It starts out with a savage beating of a gay man. A savage beating.
Yeah, this is probably the worst part of the movie for me.
Yeah.
Because there's something so... It's set in modern times. I think it actually said it was set in 2016. It's so anachronistic, the homophobia that was displayed
right
on screen, and just the beating of the gay guy for being gay, and not like necessarily inciting anything or getting an argument. It's literally they saw some gay guys being gay or like hugging or something, and they're like, "No, not in my town," and they beat the shit out of him, and it drew me out of it instantly. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah,
because it felt like so 20 years ago.
Right.
It made sense. So
I get what it was trying to do, though, right?
Well, the reason why
you see where it was going.
Yeah,
it was going with, look, fear is back, and this is kind of out of left field, but it's back. You know?
So, I mean, the real answer is that it's in the book.
Oh, okay.
That's like the opening scene of the book.
And it made sense when in the early 80s when the book came out.
Yeah, and the other part of it is it sets up the story for one or two of the characters, the main characters, because portraying Derry as super homophobic and still this weird anachronistic community that hates gays and will beat the shit out of them basically to death, sets it up to where you might not want to be out
openly gay in Derry. Yeah.
So that affects some of the main characters.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
It did feel a little, I don't know, I guess depending on who you are, your experience in America in 2019, maybe this feels dead on the nose for you. But I'm not a gay man, so it did feel out of place in my community, which is Portland. So,
yeah,
so maybe we're just way too privileged.
Well, I don't know.
Here.
We're in Vancouver, so I mean, you get like 10 miles out of any major metro area, and you're gonna
changes a lot.
Get some Republicans out there, but yeah, it
did feel a little tone deaf.
It did feel a little, but that's right. That's what I was gonna say. Probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. If we have any gay listeners, please reach out to us and let us know what you thought about that scene. But it might be that is a real fear for homosexuals, even if it's not a reality, but it's like a real fear of like, you never know who's there, who might have really outdated opinions about homosexuality and stuff. And definitely there's still religions and organizations that teach hatred towards homosexuality in various levels of hiddenness.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it might be just playing on that fear of a certain segment of people.
Yeah.
That, might not, I mean, you're also not really going to get attacked by a evil Lovecraftian clown either, but that's pretty scary to me.
Touche. Well said. Yeah, I mean, come to think of it, there are quite a few communities where I, just being me, have been to and felt pretty unwelcome. And, in just rural America. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, because you're gay.
I thought we weren't going to talk about that. My wife and children. The movie then brings us up to speed with every character in the Losers Club. That's right, all 7 of them. This is a theme in the movie. Let's check in with Bill for 5 to 10 minutes, which would be fine if there weren't 6 to 7 people to catch up with the whole way through the movie. So we just go down this laundry list of people. What's Bev doing? Well, she's over here getting scared by Bev's over here at her old apartment. She's getting scared by an old lady. Back to you in the studio, Bill.
Reporting live over here, we got Bill. He's reliving his experience with Georgie
down in the sewer. Now let's check in with Rich. And it just goes on and on that way. And it's just this laundry list of people they got to check off.
Yeah, I mean, see, here's the thing. It's an adaptation of a novel, and a long novel at that. But that's really novel-esque, checking in on each main character and having a large list of main characters. Again, it's not for everyone, but for me, I liked it. I like that kind of storytelling, and
I liked it too.
Okay,
I did like it too. It's just that it was such they stuck to the format of like 6 or 7 people every time. So it was like, let's go through the list. And then now we're back at the top and let's go through the list again. I just could have done with a few less iterations, but it did work. And it was fun to see each of their own personal terrifying. They really did check the boxes when it comes to each person's specific fear in this movie, which they didn't do quite such a good job on the first one with.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't know. I think they did check all the boxes in the first one too. And it's the same way with this movie as with the last one. There's varying levels of time that they take on it.
Yeah.
Because some of them are just not as interesting. Yeah. So Mike's fear of, reliving his parents burning to death is not given not nearly as much time as the other ones because it's not interesting.
While technically the most interesting one on paper, the least interesting one in the movie.
Right. In terms of fear, of valid fears, burning to death in a burning building is something
dying.
that could happen.
Yeah.
But, meeting a leper mummy that's going to try to French kiss you is not on the list of the most likely scenarios.
Thankfully, Stan takes pity upon the audience early in the movie and kills himself in the bathtub when Mike calls him to tell him about the return of Pennywise. So we get to narrow that list down by one after the first round. The Losers Club has become an adult version of themselves. Bev is in an abusive relationship, a la the weird sort of relationship she had with her dad. Eddie basically married his mom and does risk assessment. Rich is a comedian. The wisecracking kid is a comedian. And let's not forget the old Bowers boy. He is arrested. There's kind of a flashback to him. I don't know if you recall from the first movie. Spoilers from the first movie. He kills his abusive dad with a knife through the neck. And this movie cuts back to kind of after that moment in time, to when he is being arrested and placed in a prison for the mentally ill. His inclusion in this movie is another point that could have been easily left out, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely one people could point to as being fat, in the storyline. Again, it's something that's in the book. It probably is cut down quite a bit from what's in the book.
Yeah, it seems like it in the book it could have been a very impressive arc.
It's also kind of a red herring because he's not really a threat for very long. He's introduced, he attacks a couple times and then is killed very quickly.
Yeah.
I think he's only into a second attack when he was killed.
That sounds about right.
So, I mean, it is interesting having another layer of fear that it's not just stuff in your mind. There's actually a killer trying to come after you with a knife.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting element of the story. And honestly, I don't think it took up that much time.
No. It did. It took up maybe 10 minutes total.
Yeah.
But, you do
I think
enough of that.
the guy playing him did a great job.
The guy playing him did a great job. I really liked the intro to him, which was the asylum or the prison for the mentally ill. And I really liked the way they introed him into the movie,
right?
Which was here's just a bunch of
crazy people. So one flew over the cuckoo's nest, and then he sees a balloon out the window and he starts jumping for joy.
And
it's a balloon,
and everybody starts getting all excited and ramped up. And he's getting so excited because it's back. He sees, you know, his master has come to fear has come to stay at the prison for the mentally ill.
Did it explain what he got out of it in the first movie? Like, did Pennywise offer him something in particular?
No, I mean, I got like the implication was that it gave him the courage to kill his dad.
Right.
And his dad was his oppressor. And then he got to become like basically what he was trying to be, which was kind of fear incarnate.
Right.
He got to be the physical manifestation of fear. And so when he's in his room, the balloon disappears from his field of view outside the window. He's like, oh no, where'd it go? And then he turns around and the balloon's under the bed and it's growing and growing. He like pulls the coat off the bed and whoa, there's a balloon. Great balloon play. I loved it.
There's lots of great balloon play in this movie.
Yeah, it was. But in the first movie, didn't quite hit the balloon wasn't scary. It was just an indicator. Yeah,
the balloons in the last movie, it tried to be a little too cutesy with them.
Yeah, this one it was sinister.
Yeah.
And was like a placeholder for Pennywise instead of
like,
being...
You know how you have a balloon and you're trying to pop it and it just won't pop? Like, it's kind of scary. It's like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
What laws of nature does this thing not obey that I can't pop it right now? Look at it. It's squeezing so much. So it kind of uses that. It uses that latent fear about balloons.
Right. Speaking of good balloon play, the boobies in this movie, deceptive use of boobies in this movie. At the start, they're throwing just these big old mamma jammas in your face, being all like, look at these things. And so they start out boob strong and then they kind of peter out with the boobage. So I don't
remember it that much.
Oh, well, I do. The Losers Club meets for the first time in years at the Chinese restaurant in Derry, where they quickly fall into their childhood roles of your mom jokes and noogies. Then the fortune cookies come out and things get crazy. Fortune cookies start running amok and Mike is left smashing the place up and it's hilarious. Mm-hmm. These fortune cookies begin to birth little demonic, hideous creatures like shellfish and...
Yeah, I mean, it's in the miniseries, it had the same scene basically, but I mean lower production value.
Yes.
So, but it was surprising that I guess that must be in the book because they kept it in the miniseries. It was kind of like just weird stuff, like actual things. Like there's an eyeball in this one. Oh, look, it's a dead baby bird, or I can't remember what the other ones were. Or it's a scary bug.
There's a head in the fish tank. A headed.
Yeah.
Just a head.
But in this movie, it's like
horrific.
Weird, like Carpenter-esque, like 80s weird monster thing. So like it has an eyeball, but then the eyeball grows tentacles and starts crawling around. And then it's got like a bat wing coming out of one and it's flying around the room. And yeah, it's a lot of like weird monster design stuff, little tiny monsters. It was really cool. It was a really cool scene.
You know what? Whenever I see these scenes though, I think this would be so much cooler if they were practical effects. And I know that's not practical, but that the way, you know, just thinking of The Thing and all the goopy, weird moving shit that you could get out of this, if it weren't...
Well, if you like that, then the miniseries is the better scene for you. Then
it's not though,
because that's like what you can do practical though.
No, you could no.
Like you can't have an eyeball sprouting out tentacles and crawling across the table convincingly.
I mean, you can do something to that effect. It doesn't necessarily need to be that specifically, but you can do some cool stuff with. I mean, if you doubt that, then go ahead and take a look at the Dark Crystal. The new Dark Crystal title on Netflix. There's some fucking incredible puppetry shit in there where it's an animatronic shit that's just, it's tiny and it's fast and it's cool looking. You can do it. It's
there's still, that's not 100% practical. They use effects in that too.
Yeah, sure. I'm not saying it needs to be 100% practical. I'm just saying I would have liked to see some practical effects where there weren't any. That's all. Each of the losers. Oh, so at the end of that scene, at the end of the Chinese food scene, Mike is smashing the room apart, just like an absolute maniac, and there's nothing that everybody kind of snaps out of it all at once.
That happens a couple times, especially out in public. It makes a point that this stuff isn't actually happening; it's all in their heads. But Pennywise is doing it to them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. What if, like, just at a random time, like at the end of the movie, they're fighting this giant Pennywise spider, and then it just, like, cuts to what they're actually doing, and they're just flailing about in the water in this cave.
Dude, you've come up with the most interesting movie I can possibly think of, which is, so you release It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and then you release the director's cut, which is just these people acting like maniacs, just mentally ill people running through a town, but just acting on totally.
Yeah, man, you could probably do it too, because all the stuff that's green screened,
it's all green screen
for
anyway.
The effects. You could just put in a plain table in its place and just show the scene with them freaking out at nothing.
Instead of it being a horror movie, it'd be just a really sad drama.
All right, listen, Andy Muschietti or whoever Muschietti. In your director's cut Blu-ray release, one of the special features is the whole movie without any of the illusions.
You're welcome. We don't even ask. Well, it'd be nice to get 10%.
So what needs to be said about this scene and many other scenes is that Bill Hader really carries a lot of this movie.
Yeah, he sure does.
He is fantastic in this movie. Brings like all of the humor really well, and it's funny to compare it to the miniseries. Again, I'm going to keep going back to the miniseries. But Richie in is it Richie?
Richie, Rich is Bill Hader.
Yeah. So Richie in the miniseries, the adult version is played by Harry Anderson.
Oh yeah.
Which, if you don't remember who that is, he's the judge in Night Court, and he is a comedian in real life and like a magician, or was. He's dead now. But he wasn't very good at either one of them necessarily. No. Even he's a comedic actor, but like you could tell he's probably doesn't really have the chops to write his own material. And,
kind of the Steve Guttenberg of comedic actors.
Yes, very Steven Guttenberg-esque. Bill Hader is actually really funny.
Yeah, and
even the character of Richie is kind of a hack. Like, I think that's part of the character is, and it even mentions in this movie that like he doesn't write his own material.
Yeah,
but Bill Hader delivers the lines so well.
Yeah,
and not over the top. Some of it is so understated.
Yeah,
that it's just hilarious. I laughed a lot during this movie.
Him and Eddie and Jessica Chastain really hold up a lot of my interest in this movie.
Yeah. James McAvoy was good.
Oh, he was great.
It's whenever you cast James McAvoy or someone that's, British or Scottish, it's always like the American accent's just slightly off.
I can't ever tell. Ever.
Like,
never can tell.
Especially when they yell. Like if you are an English actor that's going to use an American accent, don't choose movies where you have to yell, because that's when your accent always comes through. Even in the trailer, I could hear it.
I can't ever hear it.
Like
I'm so interested. We'll have to check this out afterwards.
Yeah.
Each of the losers, so we end up finding out, and this is kind of the last of my actual read through. Each of the losers need to find their artifact, or the thing that ties them to it. Mike basically leads them down the path toward defeating it, and begins with his knowledge of how it got here. He talked to a Native American tribe, the Shakopee, shocking, right? Isn't it shocking that they're talking to a Native American tribe in a Stephen King adaptation? Anyway, he talked to the Shakopee that passed.
I think it's pronounced Shakopee.
Shakopee that passed down how to beat Pennywise through their tribe ever since he showed up as a ball of light from outer space in the previous century. And this tribe beat it with the ritual of Jude, or making the light dark.
I thought it was chewed.
Jude. I don't know. I just wrote down what I heard.
Yeah, it's kind of... this gets into the weird, mystical, tacked-on stuff that's in Stephen King stories.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Like, Stephen King is very creative.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily know what he's going to do. And he adds, like, little elements of the supernatural to, like, real horror, as well as just weird sexual stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it is basically the book that you can point to and say, that is the most Stephen King book ever, because it's so...
It's got all of that crap.
It's grandiose. It's like... It's over bloated.
Yeah. And
stuffs way too many ideas and concepts into it to where you're just like, huh? Like, it feels, yeah. So this ritual of the chewed, I think they did a pretty good job of integrating it. It's not in the miniseries at all, and that's one of the areas that people are like, yeah, but there's this whole plot point that they don't use.
It was so interesting. I wish they had done more with it with this movie. Like, they kind of showed how it got to Earth, which was literal. I mean, so now that sentence says enough right in and of itself. It wasn't of Earth, and then it crashed into Earth. Like, they saw these lights come down from the sky like an asteroid or a meteorite, I guess.
Yeah.
And then there was some, kind of like a CGI scene depicting it attacking the tribe, and then them eventually trying to defeat it. And all of this was kind of revealed to Mike through basically a drug trip that
through hallucination
Shakopee allowed him to have.
So you're basically given the information that Mike went through this, and then he intentionally drugs Bill, played by McAvoy, to experience the same thing. And it's kind of interesting drug trip. It's a very specific drug trip. Like, you got to look at this little leather case, and if you take this drug, it's just going to show you the history of the Shakopee and it. Like, that's just how it works. And super effective, like little drug trip there. But yeah, he's got like a little leather case that's supposed to entrap it. And later it's revealed that this whole ritual that's set up is all just a sham. It's basically to convince the people involved in it that it's going to work. And if they believe it's going to work, it will.
Right. It's a gazebo. And then it reveals that the Shakopee that actually tried it, they all died. That didn't work. Obviously, it didn't work because Pennywise is tormenting them and Derry for the last, hundreds of years. Yeah, but how did he kill them all if they told Mike about the ritual?
Well, it didn't kill them all. It killed the ones that were tried to do the ritual.
Not only,
and then he said that like all the Shakopee had long since moved away.
Right. He went to meet a tribe that was outside of Pennywise's reach.
Right.
So, not necessarily the best people. They'd be like, hey, we were successful. It's like, yeah, but you're also not near the well house, so maybe that had something to do with it. So then we have a couple scenes that could have been cut out, but they made for good feels. The most notable one was the clubhouse scene where the adults try and find a clubhouse that was never mentioned in the first movie, but gets fleshed out quite a bit in the second movie for no real reason other than to give Ben a place to kind of almost die at the end. But it felt really nostalgic and fun. It was this little clubhouse under the ground that Ben had kind of discovered and brought back to life for the Losers Club.
Yeah, because he's an architect in his adult life, and so it kind of just shows he was a budding architect when he was younger. But really, it's either, again, I haven't read the whole book, but it's either in the book and so they had to put it in, or it was the scene with all the kids, so they wanted to just be able to do it on a soundstage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So at this point, the friends split up to find their own particular artifacts and tokens that will kind of jog their memory and help them further their progress in the fight against it. And the most notable one of those to me, well, there were two very notable. Well, they were all pretty good.
They're all great. I mean, it's a great device to split them up and give different scares and different like aspects of fear.
Yeah.
A little better, a little more interesting than the first one.
Yeah.
The first one did that, but they're all kind of the same. It was all something rushing the camera jiggly.
Yeah. This one, so you've actually, if you've seen the first trailer for this movie, then you've seen Bev's artifact journey, which is her going back to her apartment that she lived in as a child. And very effective old lady scene that, I mean, I've seen the trailer multiple times at this point. Still scared the crap out of me. Did not like that. And then also, I'm sorry, did you have something for that?
No, I mean,
Okay.
it's mostly in that trailer, but I mean, basically the punchline or like the actual, scare is in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unexpected.
Yes, it is fully unexpected. And then the one that worked probably the best for me was Richie's.
Yeah. Holy shit.
He went to the park. He went to like the main thoroughfare park of Derry. Sat down on a bench. Oh my God, I've never been so fucking alarmed in my life.
Yeah, they have one of those giant Paul Bunyan statues.
It's a nice bright day outside.
Yeah. They have one of those up in Puyallup, by the way, in case you're wondering where the closest Paul Bunyan statue is.
It's right in Kenton.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
There's one in Kenton.
Right by the Dancing Bear.
Okay.
Which is a topless club.
Okay. They have topless clubs in Portland?
Are you joking?
No.
You're not joking?
No, I am joking.
Okay, all right.
Portland has the highest per capita
strip clubs
concentration
than
in anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere.
And I used to work on Powell Boulevard at a check cashing store. And Powell Boulevard probably has the highest concentration of strip clubs in Portland.
Yeah, either that or Sandy.
Just a whole row of strip clubs. I remember at least one stripper came in with just a huge wad of ones that she pulled out of her bra. And she wasn't like a high-class stripper.
What are you trying to say?
She had some meat on her bones.
Uh-huh.
And they were sweaty. Like
the ones
damp.
were?
Yeah. Like all the way through. Like, ugh. I used like so much Purell.
Obviously,
after
other
that.
people were paying for that show. You got it for free, bro. The cost of a transaction.
Anyway, so he's sitting down on the park bench and there's a Paul Bunyan, and then he turns around and Paul Bunyan's gone, it's a giant like 30-foot tall statue or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you're like, uh-oh, where's Bunyan?
Man, where'd that Bunyan go?
And he turns to his side, and I don't know how or why, but that is the scared I have
The most
scared I have ever been.
The scared you have ever been.
The most scared I have ever been in a movie for, like, probably in my adult life. Like, I really jumped. I was really like, ugh!
It was fully out of left field. It shot bats out of its splintery mouth.
Yeah.
It was fucking horrifying, and it happened so quickly. It just happened so quickly that it jarred you awake.
Yeah.
Let's see here. That one was great. Stephen King is actually a cameo in Bill's quest for his artifact. He finds his own bike from 27 years ago in just a little antique store that's run by Stephen King. And Stephen King has a copy of Bill's. Bill's been writing books for a while, and so Stephen King's like, I got your book. And he's like, yeah, you want me to sign it? He's like, nah, I hate the ending. And so it is well established that Bill is, to me, it seems like Bill is supposed to be Stephen King.
Yeah, there's always a Stephen King stand-in in Stephen King stories.
Yeah.
It's the same way with Woody Allen.
Right.
There's always a Woody Allen character, even if Woody Allen isn't in the movie.
Right.
There's always someone that you're like, oh, okay, well, that's supposed to be Woody Allen.
So it was great because you got
the one that's like, having sex with his daughter and stuff. That's
right.
Usually
right. So you got Stephen King basically doing a meta-analysis on himself and saying his endings suck, it works and it's funny and I liked it.
That it does that several times throughout, very early on too. They talk to Bill and they're like, Bill, your endings fucking suck. And that's always the criticism of Stephen King novels, is that his endings always feel tacked on and like arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's like it leads you through this whole thing and all of a sudden it's just like, and then it ends.
Yeah.
And it's usually a weird left field thing. And so it sets up the expectations for the movie. It's very interesting that they winked so hard at the audience that like, we know there's nothing we can do with this ending that you're going to like.
Right.
Like you're going to say, oh, it was good until the ending. We sat through this 2.5 hour movie.
We told you it was going to be bad.
And I don't know. it's
it worked for Bryce.
Maybe it just worked for me.
It worked way better than I could have expected it working with the source material.
Yeah.
So it did quote unquote work. It just wasn't. I think it could have been better. And apparently so does Stephen King and the people who punched up the script. So the next kid or adult that we get to see is Eddie, and his was more funny than scary to me. I think it could have been scary to people who are are much more concerned about germs or.
Well, honestly, like, I would rather be tormented by a giant Paul Bunyan than being grossed out by a mummy that's trying to French kiss me.
Yeah, it just didn't. None of it is something that I'm going to choose.
Right.
I'm just saying, in terms of it working in the movie, I loved Eddie's version where his mom is tied up down below the pharmacist's office, and there's just a bunch of rusty syringes and broken glass and tons of gross shit, and she's all tied up on a bench, and who knows what tests they've been running on her, and then this mummy comes after him, and and he manages to choke out the mummy for a while, and right when he thinks it's dying, that song plays on it, which is "Just Call Me Angel of the Morning, Baby." And then right when she says "baby," the mummy just vomits huge, voluminous amounts of black spludge into Eddie's mouth.
Yeah, it's great because he basically turns the table on the mummy.
Yeah,
and he's like choking it out, and you're like, oh, good, he got away. Because the real threat is that just super long. It's like a 6-inch undead tongue trying to like shove itself in his mouth, and so he's like pushing away and choking him. He's like, oh, good, I got him. And then it just goes just an entire like truck full of black goo.
Yeah, come to think of it, that part, anytime I see, it worked in Evil Dead 2013, anytime you got a bunch of gross liquid being shot into someone's mouth, I am
yeah,
it works. At that point, the Bowers boy, or the bully, I guess you could call him, stabs Eddie. This is a little bit later in the movie, and Eddie kills him pretty quickly with a knife. I don't know that he actually kills him. He just takes the Bower boy stabs Eddie through the cheek. Eddie backs up into a shower, closes the shower curtain so the Bower boy can't see him anymore, and then stabs him through the chest with, I mean, it's just kind of a little gravity knife, so it's not a big knife, and they don't really follow up on it. They just kind of like, good job getting rid of that bully, Eddie. But that's where that kind of storyline ends.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, so then...
We talked about this on... You have written down this movie... Oh, sorry, you got the mirror maze with Bill.
Yeah, but I mean, the mirror maze with Bill has a great culmination, which is...
Yeah, so there's kind of a stand-in of Georgie in this movie where they're introduced to this kid in Derry that kind of, by happenstance, crosses their paths a couple times, and Bill takes it upon himself to try to protect him, to like tell him, you got to get out of Derry. Like, do not...
Listen, little kid, you got to get out of here. And the kid's like, I got to go.
Yeah. And so he's trying to like protect this kid from Pennywise, and he follows him into this hall of mirrors, and the culmination is the kid just gets exploded by Pennywise, which is unexpected.
Yeah, but the standoff between Bill and Pennywise is what really worked well for me, which is this little boy's trapped in this maze of mirrors with Bill on one side of him behind a plexiglass or plate glass, big old thick plate glass thing, and Pennywise on the other side of him, and they're both kicking the plate glass, or in Pennywise's case, he's headbutting the glass just repeatedly with like feverish anger. It's so weird to see. It's the same thing you got in Hereditary, where she's just smashing her head.
Right.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So, anyways, it goes through all the characters, basically their fears or their interactions with Pennywise as they're trying to find their token, and then they all gather back together.
Yeah, they head to the well house with their tokens in hand. If you want a list of those tokens, I got it on the post that will accompany this on horrormovietalk.com.
You have written down here, this movie deals with real adult fears.
It does.
What? How so?
So, for example, Bill wants to protect a little kid from bad stuff happening to him, but he can't. You know, and yeah. I feel that way. I feel that way with my kids a lot, which is like, you can protect them while they're under your direct eye.
Yeah.
And then they're literally going to try and die. Or like, Rich's, which is, he's rich, spoilers, secretly gay. And no one knows. And that's his biggest fear, is somebody finding out that he's gay. These really super personal things, you know, Bev, is only, you know, is seemingly only be in relationships with people who are very bad to her, very mean to her.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting that her scene has nothing to do with that, though. It has to do with an old lady attacking her.
Yeah.
And so it's not really attached to her personal issues.
Right.
I think a lot of these you know, the scare scenes, God, these scare scenes, it's not really attached directly to the character's flaws or the character's real underlying fears. I mean, I guess the movie could have done a better job at that. Yeah. But they're still super effective.
Yeah, I mean, Ben's is, you know, he grew up the fat kid, and now even though he's a svelte, you know, good-looking guy who's successful, he's in his mind, he's still that fat kid.
Yeah, it's kind of, maybe that's kind of an interesting tack, is that Pennywise is terrifying them, but their real fears are internal.
Yeah.
It's not the stuff that they're really afraid of psychologically have nothing to do with what Pennywise can attack him with. He tries a little bit. I guess especially with Ben, like that was like the super effective scene of him remembering a memory with Bev when they were younger and trying to go in for the kiss, and she's like, ooh, No,
Yeah.
not like that.
Are you kidding?
Look at yourself.
Like I would ever
You're
kiss a
fat.
Yeah, like I would ever kiss a big fat kid like you.
Just the absolute most horrifying thing for a fat kid to have. Just like, oh
no.
I've gone outside of my comfort zone, and everything is confirmed.
My secret shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just a quick PSA to anybody who's making a horror film out there. If you could stop fucking pointing flashlights in my eyes, that'd be great.
Yeah, you complained about this.
I'm so tired of this shit. I think about it every single time. I think it irritates me the same way if you and I were in a dark room, right? If this room were dark right now and you got a flashlight out and you pointed into my eyes, you'd be like, "You fucking dick, don't do that."
Yeah, but it's not actually a flashlight in your eyes. It's just making the screen white.
It's all dark in the movie theater, and then a flashlight makes its way across the frame, and it's like, Jesus, why are you doing it? It hurts my eyes in the same way.
Oh, no. Yeah, you complained about it in the theater, and I was like, who cares?
Yeah, I know you were. There's a few more scares as they head down into the well house to try to confront Pennywise. And once they get there, Mike sets his plan in motion to, do the Native American ritual where they all stand around a bag and they kind of chant. And then there's a false ending where Pennywise basically makes it known that, hey, Mike, why didn't you tell him about the part where Shakopee, they're all dead now. How about that? And Mike's like, oh, darn, I just thought it would work and that's where we get that great line back, the gazebo. Yeah. It was just all a gazebo, a placebo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, we skipped. I know you want to wrap up this section, but we did skip over probably one of the best parts.
And are we talking about the Pomeranian?
No.
Okay.
The Stan coming back. So his head,
yes.
They find his head in the freezer, and it's taken basically straight out of the thing. Mm-hmm. His head sprouts like spider legs and starts attacking him. Also, one of the funniest moments.
Oh, there it is.
Like the spider disappears. The head spider disappears, and they're like, oh my God. And they're like gathering back together. And then Bill Hader looks up.
Shines a flashlight up at the rafters.
Uh-huh. And then there's the spider just with Stan's head, just like
looking at him. And Rich says, oh, there it is.
Just so understated. It was perfect.
Like, oh no, this is going to happen continuously.
Yeah, I love Bill Hader.
He was really great in this movie. And by the way, that head spider was one of the more effective parts in this movie.
Yeah.
Just being, that was CGI done dead on, balls perfectly. I have no problem with that CGI. It looked great.
Yeah.
It looked real.
I mean, it felt like a real, practical effect that was duplicated
right
in CGI.
Yeah, it was impressive and it was effective, and I loved it.
Yeah, and then the other scare that was funny was this Pomeranian one you're mentioning, where it has the same 3-door thing from the first movie where it says
not scary at all, scary, very scary.
They chose like very. He's like he's fucking with us, man. And they choose very scary, and there's something like super scary. I can't remember what it was. It was just like screaming or something.
Yeah. No, it was a girl's like, where are my shoes? And they're like, huh? And then this disembodied lower half of a body like just comes walking at him, just legs.
Yeah.
And like a crotch.
He's not fucking with us.
So they close that door and they open the not scary at all door, and there's just a cute little Pomeranian doggy sitting there. And they're like, I know what's going on here. I know your tricks. And then it's this little dog just
the little guy's just standing there the whole time, and you know what he's going to do.
He's so cute. And they're like, oh, good dog. Good dog. And then
it transforms into a monster.
Yeah, it transforms into an ultra Pomeranian.
Yeah, it's
which
great.
Is much scarier than a regular Pomeranian.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the big battle with Pennywise. They're in this big cavern down below the earth. Pennywise makes his presence known, turns into a giant spider, not just like in the miniseries, but he does turn into a gigantic spider with a clown head, and he runs after him, and then they defeat him, and they kind of.
I think when they defeat him, it was pretty cool.
It was kind of cool.
I think especially the
it
art
makes sense.
The art design of it, of like basically the deflating Pennywise.
Yeah.
It's just really, it's really weird and cool. His like head is basically like a deflated balloon, like laying on the edge of this crater.
Yeah.
And he like lifts his head up, and it's like.
Yeah, and it does a good job of kind of portraying look how silly your fears really were. Look how pitiful they are now that you've shouted it down. They all the way they defeat him is they just minimize him, minimize their fear. They yell at him. They're like, you're just a clown.
Yeah.
You're just a scary lady.
It was a really good ending in that they did lose something too. I mean, it was the major spoiler, whatever, is that they don't all survive. Eddie gets stabbed like right through the chest, and he dies in the end. And you wrote down here that the ending cry felt weird. I disagree. I thought that was like a really good emotional moment to where you're like, these guys, that is how people would react if you lost like your best friend. If you just lost your best friend.
Okay.
Like, you'd be traumatized.
I'm not.
And if you're around like your other group of friends.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with that. I mean, you're right, but
I teared up a little at that point. It was impactful for me.
Wow. See, for me, the visual of it was so corny because it was basically like, okay, everybody huddle up for a group picture and look and like hold each other like sadly.
Yeah.
It looked like an Instagram photo of people being sad for someone online. I don't know. It just looked fucking weird.
Well, I mean, it's the storytelling part of it, though. I mean, they all defeated it. They all lost something, and they're all still together and bonded from it.
It just felt weird. That's all I'm saying. I made me feel weird because I'm emotionally detached.
Okay.
But yeah, Eddie does end up dying. They do end up defeating it, and I don't see a way that there could be a third one. So
no, I mean they told the whole story.
Yeah, but
unless, well, no. See what'll happen. Yeah. What'll happen? We'll see how much. I don't think this one will make as much money as the first one. The first It movie is the highest grossing horror movie of all time, still. And I think part of that is that they released it in September. I think it was kind of a novel time to release a horror movie.
Now it's a normal time.
Because everything.
Last year we got The Nun on Labor Day weekend.
But I don't think it will do as good, mainly because there's some more competition. The Joker is out. So, I mean, all the people going out to see Scary Clowns, there's specifically competition.
Yeah.
Between those two movies.
Yeah, and DC had a promo or a trailer for the new Harley Quinn movie that started by mocking it. Which was effective and funny and got me. I'm interested in the Harley Quinn movie. I'll watch it. I know it'll be.
Well, yeah, it's got Margot Robbie in it. Why wouldn't you?
I know.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great movie.
Yeah, it's definitely worth seeing.
I mean, to me, it's almost like a Marvel-esque achievement in like seeing one of those Infinity War movies where you're like, wow, they really culminated into something big, but it's just a 2-part movie.
I dare you to find a more epic horror movie.
But it's the most epic horror movie.
You can't find a more epic.
I can't think of, in terms of scale, production value, cast, and
just
story,
the monumentalness of the whole arc. Like, it's very impressive.
Right. It's not quite like Lord of the Rings, but for horror fans, it is one of the
it's a contemporary
most important novels.
Yeah.
Horror novels ever.
Probably the most.
And
I mean, aside from maybe like classics like Frankenstein.
Yeah, and somehow the studio understood, like, we need to put up the full weight of the studio behind this because people still love this story.
Yeah.
They still think fondly of this miniseries. It's utter trash.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that's good about it is the story itself. So if you put actual effort and money behind it, it's gonna pay back, whatever you put into it. So
yeah. So final recommendations. This is an iconic movie. This will go down as a big, important, fun horror movie that. It's just a crowd pleaser. You can't really go wrong. And who knows? Maybe the director's cut will be shorter than the the theatrical release. So, that's my final recommendation. What about you? So I think you'd probably same thing.
Yeah, go see it. Go see it in the theaters. Go see it soon.
Yes.
While people are still seeing it, because I mean, horror movies are so much better if you're in a crowded theater.
It's true. It's definitely true. And with that, let's get ready to play our this is our sophomore time, our second time playing horror or porno.
The French.
All right, so for those of you who don't know, horror movie or porno is extremely explicit. It does feature the sounds of people having sex or being killed in horror movies. So
we should make an intro for it, which is just a scream that morphs into like a moan. It's like
or the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So any listeners out there that have a sultry voice that want to try that one out.
Yeah, don't blow our ears out though. I'd really appreciate it if it was I didn't even write down what one of the clips was. Okay, so here we go. Horror or porno is a game where I'm going to play a sound clip and Bryce again, don't listen to this if you take offense to the sounds of sex. Okay. Bryce has to guess, is each clip, what is it? Is it a horror movie or is it a porno? And here is the first clip.
What are you doing? What would Martha Stewart say?
Fuck Martha Stewart! Martha Stewart can kiss my shiny plastic butt! Here I am slaving away over a hot stove, making cookies, making Swedish meatballs, and for what? For a man who doesn't appreciate me! For a man who can't even wash one fucking dish! For a man who isn't even a man at all where it counts, if you get my drift! Take it from me, honey. Plastic is no substitute for a nice hunk of wood.
Well, you heard the music.
Yeah, I mean that one's hard.
Hard.
All right, I'm going to
walk me through your thought process a little bit.
I feel like I recognize. So it's a woman arguing with a man, and they're talking about being plastic. I think it's got to be one of the Chucky movies, like Bride of Chucky or something like that. So I'm going to go horror movie.
That's a good guess. What you forgot is that a lot of porno stars people who have had a lot of plastic put into them. So actually, this was a porno. This was a movie called Planet of the Gapes.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent. I'll make it up.
All
How
right.
many do how do I win?
We only got 5. I'd say you make 3.
Okay.
So you win if you make 3 out of the 5.
All right. I think I know how the game goes now.
Okay, all right. So here is clip number... Oh, if you guys would like to listen to another version of this game, it is featured in our review of Ready or Not, which is 2 episodes ago, if you're listening to this.
Yeah, with me and my wife playing.
Right. It was a lot of fun. Erin had a great time. She learned a lot. So here is clip 2.
Oh, shit.
Let's have a window into your mind.
I mean, it's definitely stabbing sounds.
It's definitely. Maybe.
I mean, the moaning makes me think it's probably porno. Like, someone's getting enjoyment out of it.
You sure?
And I don't think that the killer would be moaning.
Are you sure you don't want to listen to it again? Let's
listen again.
Oh, shit.
So with that,
I'm gonna say that's definitely a porno. That sounds like sex sounds.
I really gave you every chance on this. I'm sorry, that was a horror movie. That was Teeth. I don't know if you remember that one. Vagina Dentata.
Dang it.
By the way, Teeth is a great movie. If you guys haven't seen it, you should. It is it's very tongue-in-cheek. So here we got clip 3. This I'm not going to say too much about this now, but I have words about this movie afterwards. So
I have to get all 3 now if I want to win.
Yeah, you better start. You better. I mean, you got to at least get on the board with one of these. That might just be a win, seeing as how hard this game has been proven to be.
All right.
Okay, here is clip 3.
What do you think's on here? Yeah, everybody, play with the money. Play with the dirty money.
Whoa. Holy shit. What's this? Holy shit, it's John. It's Super John. Holy shit.
Wait. What's that back? That's supposed to be for the winner.
Look at this, girls. The party ain't over yet.
Give me that. That's dangerous.
Just for you, devil. Another one? Oh, don't be sad.
Go on.
Come here. Give it to me. Give it back. No. Go get it.
Put me up. Put me up.
Now.
Put me up. Put me up.
Okay, so I could have clipped that one a little bit early. I'm sorry I didn't. There is a lot of illicit drug use in this movie.
Okay. I mean, I'm listening to the music, and it's I think that's like kind of the tip off, because if you're going to have a porno, it's not going to have like stepwise motion, like half semitones, and really intense rhythmic stuff. So my first impression is it has to be a horror movie. But my instincts have steered me wrong. I'm going to go against my initial thought and say this is a porno.
So actually, this one is a little bit of a gimme, because this is both. I found a movie from that destroyed my psyche as a child called
is this the
Frankenhooker? Frankenhooker. And this movie is definitely a porno, and it is also definitely a horror movie, and it's a splatter horror from like the late 80s, early 90s, super splatter. And I tell you, man, I was up in like 1989 at like 4 or 5 years old in the morning, and this movie came on like Cinemax at like 4 in the morning. You know, I was just a little kid, I couldn't sleep. I turned it on, I was like, what is going on? And then I saw this hooker like having sex with men and pulling their heads off, and like just really just like way too much for me, like,
yeah.
And I remembered it for so long. And then like 2 years ago, I finally, like, I saw a post on this deep subreddit that was like, what the hell is this movie? And I was like, oh, that's the movie. That's the movie. And so ever since then, I've been kind of going back to it and being like, wow, this is a messed up movie. It is messed up.
All right. So I got one. I'm on the board.
You did. You got one.
So I need to get 2 more.
Okay. So here is clip number 4. Bryce, is this a horror movie or a porno?
Right here, unzip.
Alright, open your eyes.
Oh my god! Oh, hello. Oh my god, it's so big. Oh my god, I've always wanted to meet you. And you.
That was a mildly excited young lady. This is a deceptive one, I got to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say. I mean, I don't watch a lot of porn, but I feel like there's a certain kind of scene that would happen that this sounds like. But again, I mean, I'm like a little gun shy about my decisions. I'm gonna say my initial reaction has got to be a porno, but you're very tricky. So I'm gonna say this. I'll guess horror.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That's actually wrong. This is a porno. This is Big Boy, Big Toy. So you still got that 1 point. You're on the board in that regard.
Well, I'm not going to win. We'll just might as well do the last one.
Okay, here's the last clip. Is this a horror or a porno?
And that's sliding a little wet pussy all over this coffee table. I'm gonna queef really hard on top of this table.
What the fuck? What? What?
I was as shocked as you.
Oh my god!
What's going through your head? You look kind of.
I honestly have no idea what that sound is.
Well, she mentions it.
Oh, what did she say? Is she farting on the table?
No, you want me? Here we go. Let's play it again.
And that's sliding a little wet pussy all over this coffee table. I'm gonna queef really hard on top of this table.
There you go. What'd she say?
Oh, she was queefing on top of the table. Okay.
Now again, this is tricky. You gotta work your way through this.
There's no horror movie that would have queefing.
No horror movie? Are you sure?
None. It's got to be a porno.
I'm sorry. This was Dead Girl. Yeah. There's a lot of gases that build up inside the body, after death. And, this was actually a pretty big title. I don't know if you caught it. I think it was like 2012. So, I don't know what to tell you. But nice try. I'm giving you a round of applause.
I'll get it next time. It is a hard game. This is probably the hardest game we've had so far.
Yeah, I'd say so. And with that, I would just like to say thank you so much to all of our listeners for listening to the show, for supporting us, talking to us. Our very favorite thing is when you reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or YouTube, and let us know your thoughts. Let us know that you like the show, or that we're terrible people and we suck.
Yeah, and we're really starting to hit kind of an inflection point. It seems like the download numbers are going up pretty well, and we appreciate any time you share with a friend. We know you probably don't go to see horror movies alone. There's probably a buddy or a group of people that you would feel comfortable seeing horror movies with. So,
or a girl, or a special girl, or boy. Maybe somebody that you might treat to a porno afterwards.
Yeah. So invite that friend or special someone to listen to horror movie talk, and also invite them to leave a rating. So we haven't talked about it in a while, but what we're trying to do is get up to 200 ratings so that we can get verified by Rotten Tomatoes. Not quite there. I think we're sitting at 33 right now. So if you have an iPhone, or if any of your family has an iPhone, just go to that Apple Podcast, leave a rating. You don't even have to leave a review. Just a rating's fine.
Just flip that bitch open and, let us have that love coming down through the interwebs. If you'd like to support the show, you can, of course, become a patron on Patreon. We have a link for that at the top of our website, horrormovietalk.com. Same thing with our Amazon account. If you would like to shop on Amazon, just make sure you click through our link. I know that's a little bit harder with the app on your phone. I don't know. We should probably find a workaround so that people can actually, click through our link on their phone. But
they can't?
Well, I mean, and not get into the app, probably.
Why would that be a problem?
Well, because you go to horrormovietalk.com, you click a link, but then now you need to open the app on your phone too. Like that would bring you to a website. Oh, it opens the app automatically? Oh shit, people. I have breaking news. If you click the link on our website, it opens your app automatically. So there you go. You have no excuse now. Special thanks to all the beautiful people out there and our new patron, whose name is, I believe, Jennifer?
Hold on. Jennifer. You're right.
Of course I'm right.
Jennifer D.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We asked her where she found us, and she found us searching on Google. Just looking for horror movie podcasts.
On the Googs.
The SEO works, David.
Hooray! And with that, y'all have a great day, great week, great month.
Wait, sorry, one last thing.
Oh, okay.
We should probably mention we've talked about Shudder in the past, and we've received some comments from some people that the Shudder code isn't working right now.
We are in the middle of trying to fix it. I have received some responses from Shudder, but nothing satisfactory yet. The code stopped working a little while ago, and I don't have an explanation for you yet, but maybe next episode.
Yeah. So hold off on using the Shudder code for now.
Yeah, hold off on subscribing to Shudder for now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that, go on record and say, hey, just wait, maybe.
Yeah.
Just give it a little look-see. Anyway, with that, thank you so much. Thank you, and have a great week, and have a great month, and have a great year, and we love you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye.
you